Takopi's Original Sin is a show that this season seemingly came out of nowhere and dropped an absolutely incredible work of art. The story is a roller coaster from start to finish, the animation is some of the best I've ever seen, and the soundtrack and voice acting do not disappoint, each being phenomenal. It is a must-watch and will probably, no, it will be Anime of the Year. Takopi is, okay, I'm kidding, I'm not going straight into spoilers. But I really want to say that you can't talk about Takopi without revealing its main themes and some events that the show tackles. And I think that Takopi is a series that's best seen when going completely blind. But this is a YouTube video, so I know what you want, here's my quick synopsis. It starts following our main character, Takopi, an alien from Happy Planet. He is called a Happian. Happians travel from planet to planet to make people smile using their strange alien gadgets. And Takopi, by chance, crash lands on Earth and meets a young girl called Shizuka. Shizuka doesn't smile, and of course, Takopi as a Happian is willing to try everything in the world to change this. And although he succeeds from time to time, she's still sometimes sad, so it becomes his goal to give Shizuka the biggest smile she's ever had. The only problem is that an alien born on Happy Planet has never experienced human emotions before, and doesn't understand anything at all. He's never experienced violence or sadness in his life. He spent every day of his life on Happy Planet, eating happy fruit, drawing on happy paper, watching Happy Gilmore. While on the other hand, Shizuka has lived a terrible life every day, and has for a long time. She doesn't have a dad or a caring mom, and every day she gets bullied at school. So often we as the audience and Takopi have to ask, how will Takopi put a smile on your face? It's a very cute and wholesome premise, no? No, shit, my bad, I put that question mark in the wrong spot. A very cute and wholesome premise? No. Takopi's Original Sin is a horror, well, maybe closer to a psychological horror, I'm not really sure, but it is a very, very, very hard watch. It focuses on portraying real-life struggles of the human condition in an absolutely brutal way. And I'm not afraid to say it, I ended up crying multiple times throughout the show, each with different emotions, and for probably 10% of the show, I watched through my fingers because it gets nearly impossible to keep your eyes on the screen. But just in case you're wondering, that's not a spoiler, it doesn't try hide the horror aspect from new viewers. I mean, the first thing they give you is a content warning because it does get pretty bad at some points. So, I'll give you the same warning. Takopi's Original Sin has sensitive depictions regarding suicidal behavior and abuse. And do not take them lightly. In fact, scale them up, because upsetting is a severe understatement. So if you can't handle those themes, no one's going to shame you, just please don't watch the show. Because if you can't sit through it from start to finish, you'll hate the show. Takopi's story is incredible, and the message it wants to show you is vital to understanding why it was written. And you don't reach that message until the final episode. It's not just suffering with no reason behind it. So if you can't sit through the tough themes, just please don't watch it, it's that easy. But if you can and are still interested, I'll do a little more glazing before I get into spoilers. Every moment in this show looks incredible. Whether the moment is lighthearted and happy or incredibly dark, Studio Initia has nailed it. I'm confident that you can go to any moment in the show and take a random screenshot, and 90% of the time, it's worth being a background. Actually, I'll probably end up doing that. It's probably on screen right now. And it's not just the stills that look incredible. The animation goes so incredibly hard at every single moment. I've seen so many edits of Takopi that were probably just made by an editor who had their eyes closed, picked two random scenes, bam, side by side, and it still looks incredible. It's just eye candy throughout the entire show, which in a show like this feels really weird to say, but at the same time makes so much sense, because it makes the horror all that more gruesome. Incredible! So well built, no character is one-dimensional. Nearly all of them have their good sides and flaws. Nearly all characters have their good sides. But even in saying that, they're all filled with dreams, each choosing their maybe incorrect way to try achieve it. They're all filled with dialogue that feels so real, and emotions too, and oh boy, when a character feels an emotion, you, as the audience, will feel it too. The entire team at Initia makes sure of it. The animators, the people behind how every shot is composed, every cut, and even the people behind the soundtrack. I don't know much about music personally, so I won't talk about it, but just know it fits very well at every moment. Anyway, in a show that has an alien on the screen 90% of the time, the characters feel so incredibly real. All of them are in some way relatable, and sometimes in the worst way possible. And the main characters, so well written that it hurts to watch them because they're kids. They feel like kids. So everything terrible is happening through the lens of a child. Things I would wish on no one, but things that most definitely do happen, are happening to the purest, most innocent little buggers there could ever be. And these events impact the characters. They grow. You might go into Takopi hating a character and by the end love them. Or the opposite. It's an incredible roller coaster I wish I could experience for the first time again. Anyway, that's all I'll say before we go into spoilers. But I'll reiterate this one more time. Don't watch the show if you won't finish it. Takopi gives a very different message depending on how far you make it through. If you finish on the first, second, fourth, or sixth episode, you'll get a different story, which is like, duh, obviously. But you'd be surprised how many shit takes I see from people online who will proudly say they didn't finish the series. And I mean, it's not a very accurate resource, but on Mal, 90% of the negative reviews are all people who didn't finish the show. And their reviews are some of the strangest reads I've ever had. Takopi has a message it wants to say, and they didn't see it because they didn't reach the end. So please, trust me, you get that one warning at the beginning, and if you choose to watch past it, no matter how tough it gets, don't stop until you're finished. And most importantly, don't get comfortable. Alright, you made it this far. It's time to get spoiled hard. No more little baby spoilers. I'm going to be diving fully into hardcore spoilers. So, watch the anime before coming back to hear my take on Takopi. Alright, you're staying. Okay. Takopi dies, Marina dies, Shizuka dies, Mufasa dies, Goldship wins a race, Ares a vampire, Justice Joestar falls from... Yeah, you should probably be used to getting the worst out of warnings by now. Anyway, moving on to the big question. Don't get comfortable? What the hell's that about? I mean, it's a horror anime. Why would I ever get comfortable? And that's what inspired me. Because as much glazy as I can do to the visuals, soundtrack, story, whatever, many shows can achieve those same feats and already have. I think what makes Takopi's original sin so unique is its ability to lure the viewer into a sense of comfort over and over again, even after the gut-wrenchingly horrible scenes we end up seeing. It's what makes watching the show such an incredible roller coaster, a roller coaster you can only ever really ride once, because trust me, on your second time once you've learned its tricks, you'll never feel comfortable watching it again. The first one is the most obvious one, the art, the style, soundtrack, and the show's shots and editing. In general, just how it's been made. I know this one's stupid to point out, it's in your face the entire show, easy to spot, but not really, and I'll get into it in more detail for another point, because it ties in with a lot of other events that trick the viewer into comfort. But from a surface level, it is pretty obvious what's up. We get a content warning, and then right after the art style is cutesy, the music is fun, and character designs are so incredibly easy to find cute. Personally, my guard wasn't set off by it, and I didn't have this part in my video script because I thought no one's guard would be set off by it. But then I told a friend to go watch Takopi's Original Sin. He asked me what it was about, and I told him it's a horror anime. So he began to watch Takopi, and I watched it with him. He read the warnings at the beginning. Actually, no, he paused the episode to do so. And then after a few minutes, he begins talking through a show, which I don't mind, I don't care. I talk through shows sometimes, everyone does. It continued on for a little while though, and then at one point, he said unironically, "Wow, this show's really cute." And I was shocked. No, let me think about how to put this. Am I friends with a goldfish? Like, he paused it, he read it, he had me tell him that it's a horror, and yet he managed to get comfortable. Anyway, after the thing happened, he didn't speak again, so that's why I pointed out what I thought was obvious, because some people do fall for it. A sense of security through the cute art, the fun songs, characters. It really does manage to put you at ease, even after the content warning we just got. And I mean, it makes sense. That one's just words, so after the bigger shock, Shizuka's death, the viewer should by no means be able to feel comfortable again. At least that's what you'd think, but I actually got caught into feeling safety again somehow. Because as soon as Shizuka dies, the show doesn't linger on it for long. Near minutes after, Takopi's walking away, and then he reveals the use of the happy camera. And with it, one more thing. Time travel. Time travel is a thing that's been done 1,000 times over, and Takopi isn't a show that tries to reinvent time travel. It introduces a simple system, allowing Takopi to travel back to a set save point. There's plenty of other media with this exact concept. But there's one big problem with time travel. It pisses me off! As soon as you introduce a consistent way to travel through time with no added pressure, all stakes are gone. And that's exactly what Takopi achieves. It introduces a way to travel through time consistently with no repercussions in doing so, no time limit pushing him at all. And even though I previously said, and I quote, "It pisses me off," in this case, it didn't. Because, being pissed about a kid not committing suicide would probably be the wrong reaction. So I was relieved, knowing that Takopi would be able to continue to retry over and over until he brings Shizuka to a life where she smiles every day. I thought maybe the show would continue in this direction, following Takopi trying over and over to make Shizuka smile, maybe failing a few times to keep the horror elements present so the show's theme would stay consistent. But to a lesser degree, since we know it's no longer permanent. And the show did actually go along with that idea. Takopi kept failing, but slowly, day by day, Shizuka would smile just that little bit more. And sure, the uncomfortable scenes were still there, but it didn't matter. Takopi got his eye gouged out, next scene he's back to being as good as ever. The horror elements were there for the people that came for it, but somehow it felt more comfortable than ever. The stakes were no longer there because Takopi could just keep using his happy camera to go back in time. Just like that. Too comfortable. Time travel ripped away at the moment we needed it most, the safety net gone. Everything that happens now is permanent, and we've seen more death and more suffering than before. We know it can happen, we know how cruel the show can be. So without do-overs, the show gets more uncomfortable than ever. I mean, surely you can't ever get comfortable again after that one, right? Right. By this point, the show knows they can't get the viewer back into comfort. So they aim to mislead us, to show us all new lows, to make this discomfort we're feeling right now the new normal comfort. Remember how I said I'd come back to my first point? Well, here it is, because Takopi decides to cut back a little on the horror and dial up the cutesiness to the max. They decide to get as in your face with it as possible. Takopi just killed Marina? Not a problem. It made Shizuka smile to the point that she had stars radiating off her. And oh, look, Takopi has a lucky dandy gadget. The happy coffin! Man, together the kids can bury Marina and let's put some happy music over it. I mean, it's just kids playing around. Look how happy they are. Don't you just want to smush them? Oh my god, they meet up every day to make sure that their plan to hide the body is going well. Oh, just like friends. Oh, look, Shizuka wants to play. Oh, how cute. Oh, and Marina and Shizuka are finally getting along. Sure, it's not Marina, she's dead. But this is just a cute little happy Takopi, and it's so, it's so cute. But the audience knows what's up. We aren't getting comfortable, but we are getting used to these moments that are more happy. And then, to butter us up even more, the directors introduce a little secret industry technique. One called lying. That's right. Now the camera shots outright lie to us. The camera is no longer the objective truth. Instead, it's how the character is feeling. And they don't reveal the truth until moments where the truth will hit us like a truck. Take, for example, when Shizuka visits her dad. From the start of the episode, fun music, amazing visuals, but this time to the max because it's an exciting moment for her and the viewer. Because even if at this point you had your suspicions, her excitement is infectious. It lures you into giving the situation the benefit of the doubt because, after all, Shizuka has a huge smile on her face. She's been looking forward to this day for the last 2 episodes. She jumps out of bed, runs down the street, travels across the bright country with Takopi, going on trains, boats, whatever. They get food together. It's just incredibly wholesome. The sun's out and it seems to be a perfect day. And after our long, painful journey to get here, it's just what us viewers want. So the show gives it all to us. Until she opens the door and sees her dad, and with him, his new family. And for the first time since the episode started, the music is cut, forcing us to sit in this awkward exchange. This painful exchange. The silence between every time Shizuka tries to speak is only filled with the sounds of his new family. It's impossible to feel any comfort watching this, and somehow they only take it lower. Shizuka finds out Chappie isn't with her dad, she was lied to, and then the dad's new family asks him, "Who's this girl? Why does she keep calling you dad?" And with that line, the camera takes us back to reality. We're no longer in Shizuka's eyes. The skies aren't clear, they're filled with clouds, and Shizuka herself, she's ragged, dirty, and unkempt. She's clinging on to the collar of her dead dog, a detail purposefully left out of every previous shot, none of them showing her left hand. It is brutal after the lies we've been shown. Sure, the show didn't make us feel necessarily safe or comfortable here, but it made us feel better. We, like Shizuka, wanted to believe that it could get better, and it reminded us that that's not what Takopi's original sin is about. It has a story it wants to tell, and Shizuka reuniting with Chappie wasn't it. And finally, the last and probably most powerful piece of bait in the show, Shizuka's smile. Something that's been made important from the start of the series. It's the main drive behind Takopi's character. He wants to see her smile, and a lot like Takopi, so do we. Because it's impossible not to root for her after seeing what she goes through and understanding how hard her life is. And this connection to her actually works so well that I wanted to see her smile, even at the worst times for her to do so. It's actually the first time I felt happy to see someone smile about murdering their classmate. And probably hopefully the last. Now, let's stop. Smiling about murdering her classmate. And at this point, it's the biggest smile we've seen her had. Like I said, literal sparkles. This is the first hint at Shizuka's character. Because although I'm sure a part of that smile was genuinely because Marina was gone, there's another reason she smiled. Because she wanted to convince Takopi that it was no big deal. And more importantly, she had just realized that Takopi can be useful. And just like that, we begin to see the real Shizuka seep through, in a way that's so subtle that it's nearly impossible to see until moments before the twist. Because Shizuka starts to be friendly, something we hadn't seen her do before. She spends time with Takopi and Azuma instead of rushing home like she did every day. They all get closer, playing together, planning their trip away to go see Chappie. Things are looking up for Shizuka. She has friends and no longer gets bullied. But Azuma, on the other hand, is filled with guilt for a crime he helped hide. He's worried every day that he'll get caught. And to this, Shizuka distracts him by making him focus on other things, giving him compliments, playing games with him, and asking him to help her find the Chappie plan. But eventually, all of the pressure does break him, and in his lowest moment, he goes for a walk, when he meets Shizuka. They talk for a bit. Shizuka at this point has realized the cops will get her. So she asks Azuma one question that completely breaks her facade. And obviously, like a rational man, he freaks out. Then she kisses him, and like a rational man, he decides, well, she likes me, I guess I have to. But little does Azuma know, she doesn't care about him. She realized from a while back that he liked her, through the sparkles coming off him, obviously. She manipulated him from the start, and even more after realizing he had fallen for her. He gave her the idea that you could blame it on someone else, so from that point on, she set up for it, faking her character to Azuma to pull him close just so she could use him. And I know what some of you are thinking. I want proof. Maybe she did like Azuma. Wrong! How do I know? Because she did this shit twice. In the Marinaverse, she does it again. In that universe, when Azuma begins talking to her, she says, oh, I'm so happy someone's talking to me. Normal stuff, I guess. Azuma then calls her pretty, and she just gives him a soft smile and continues talking. Eventually, she asks if he's been in a relationship. Azuma denies that he ever has. No reaction from Shizuka at all to that information. And then, he admits, and I quote, I bet Kirarazaka-san is deeply hurt. And then we see this. A shot of the back of Shizuka's head, and a cut to an incredibly painful Marina scene. And then she touches his hand, and the audio between Azuma and Shizuka is cut instead being replaced by Marina's screams. We watch the scene as she looks at Azuma a lot more. She's a lot more interested now. She's interested as long as it hurts Marina. She doesn't give a flying flip about Azuma. She is only interested in Azuma for her goals. Afterwards, she'll get rid of him, just like she's been shown to do. And it's not just Azuma. She does the same thing with Takopi later, using him up to what she believes to be useful, and then discarding him. Overall, episodes 4 and 5 do an incredible job of finding every last one bit of comfort and destroying it. Because although while watching we aren't comfortable, we were still rooting for Shizuka, and now it's pretty hard to root for any character. I grew closer to Marina through her episode, but I still can't defend any of her actions. I can't defend anyone for what they do. But I still don't want them to be sad. So then we reach the 6th episode, where it's impossible to feel safe watching the show, where all comforts are gone and every character has been fully revealed. By this point, we know exactly what the show is capable of. And it's all of this that makes watching the ending just that more impactful. Because at the end, Takopi takes a gamble. He gives up his life to turn back the clock one last time, hoping that without his meddling, Shizuka and Marina will grow up to find their own ways of being happy. And is Takopi's original sin's ending a good one? I mean, not necessarily. Marina still gets abused at home, gaining her scar, and Shizuka still has to live a life with absent parents. But after everything we've seen, one thing is certain. It's the best possible ending we know about, because this time they go through their problems together. And it's in this ending where we finally understand what Takopi's original sin wanted to say. The laughably simple, but so beautiful message is clear. Talk. If you're in a bad place, talk with others. Even if you yourself might feel hopeless and hated, there's always people out there who will understand you. And after being toyed with for so long with our comfort stripped away, they hand us the perfect bittersweet ending. Thank you, Takopi. You know, he raises a good point. But